Of all the voices they would give Bambi, that voice, my little sister can't be this cute. The voice of little sisters over the last, I don't know, 5-10 years, that voice of all the voices. It's gonna make it very difficult to not like Bambi, and despite the fact that she is taking out a lot of people. Her introduction was fantastic too. Her kind of jumping in there, immediately crossing blades and being like, I can't believe little girls like you are on the battlefield. And he's like, I can't believe they're employing doggies. They must be really hurting for people. It was a really dorky introduction, but yeah, overall, fantastic episode. As always, just very chaotic, trying to keep track of who all is fighting who, but at the same time, there are a lot of fights that I'm not looking forward to just based on how brutal this season has been already. But once again, having this perspective of Kurotsuchi really trying to figure out the situation and nobody waiting for him. I have this feeling at some point like Kurotsuchi is going to just, I don't know, change the entire tides of the battle or just get frustrated with people, because it really does seem like, despite, like I said last episode, he's always been the guy that just seems like he's so twisted, but at the same time, he's very critical to the overall story, and the research they do is technically very helpful. He's twisted, but he's very helpful. He's very insightful, and he's very smart. And in this episode, we're getting that once again with this idea that if they'd only waited to use their bankais, I could have figured something out. Like, he's going to discover some way of blocking them from being able to steal away their bankais, and it's already too late for so many of them because they weren't willing to wait for him to figure it out. What his research was finding out during this entire episode was that they weren't sealing them away. Like, it wasn't something where they're like, boom, they're sealed. They're not doing anything. It wasn't until they used the bankais and then they were stealing the bankais. So it wasn't a case of sealing it so it couldn't be used. And that's the unfortunate thing, because Sasakibe, he probably assumed that was the case, they were sealing it away, but it wasn't actually the case. But yeah, crazy beginning of this battle. Like I said, they're just jumping right into it. This arc is not really kind of taking its time. I mean, typically with a lot of shonens like this, what you're really going to get is where the bad guy shows up at the place, they stand there and talk about their grand scale ideas, everybody has to fight over if it's a good idea or a bad idea, just these long introductions. But no, this is just like, bam, they've already taken out like 1,000 soldiers already. They're coming in there. All the captains are already lining up with each individual different members of this group. It's just, like I said, it's just jumping right into it. And additionally, having a lot of the key players like Byakuya, who's typically for a lot of these scenarios is always the person that shows up at the very end. Like, oh, now he has to cross blades. No, he's up there right at the very beginning. Additionally, having him have one of his bankai stolen away right off the bat. I'll be curious if it turns into this thing where they can use the bankai back onto them. What we've already kind of indicated already is that they do have some sort of ability of drawing power from other things. It's kind of the indication that I got with this fight with Kyuge. Kyuge was kind of absorbing life from other people. Now, I don't know if that's going to be like his own unique ability, or if it's going to be one of those things where the Quincy's overall are able to absorb powers from other people, which makes me think that them, yes, not sealing away the bankais, but actually absorbing it, can they use it back on them? I don't think that's going to be the case, because it seems to be predicated on this seal. Like, this was a new technology they created to fight against the Soul Society. And so I don't necessarily think that's going to be some things where they draw it in there and they use it. It could be a thing where that plate itself is something that will then funnel into their leader. Like, they all have this, and it's like a gate, a portal that draws the bankais and then gives it to their leader. But we'll see. We'll see if suddenly out of nowhere Sakura petals are flying around and just like sends it back onto Byakuya and Renji. I will say I'm already not liking... We're not even 4 episodes in, but we're already doing recaps. I don't know if they're going to keep doing that, but I really hope they don't. Again, we're only 4 episodes in. It already feels the necessity of having 3 minutes of recap when... Again, it's only been 4 weeks, or technically 3 weeks. We don't need recaps at this point. But again, in a lot of cases for these long-running shonens, they like to do that just to kind of keep, I don't know, the amount of time, amount of airspace that they have to animate very short. I hope it doesn't become the norm, because that's like probably, 6 minutes of the entire episode is recap, intro, and outro. But no, so far, based on what Urahara's saying, and additionally what we're kind of gathering from this episode, yes, again, they're stealing away the bankais, but additionally, it does seem like there's a lot of emphasis on the idea that these Quincy's have something that keeps them from being hit. Now, again, that was a thing that they're insinuating the Quincy's themselves feared and maybe ultimately were defeated because of, was the bankais themselves, so they didn't attack until they could get some way of fighting back against the bankais. But it seems to indicate that any blows outside of the bankais themselves is not connecting. Now, granted, Byakuga was able to do it. Like, Byakuga was able to get around that somehow. Like, I guess because he had so many different petals that were attacking the target, they weren't able to defend against it. I think Urahara said that it was one of their abilities was Blut. And the Blut was when they put their reishi into their body somehow, it increases their offense or defense. He said that it doesn't, he indicated that it had to be one thing or the other. It had to be defense or offense. And so it might be the fact that when Byakuga was fighting them, and additionally, you know, Toshiro and all them, when they were fighting, they were basically bolstering their defenses so nothing really attacked and connected. So it might be one of those things where they have to figure out, okay, well, I need to make sure that I only attack when they attack. That way I can get around that defense. But additionally, also indicated based on Byakuga that he was able to get around that defense by just attacking so much. I'm curious how much we'll get kind of revealed through Urahara in this series, obviously, because again, he's the one that seems like he's figuring all this stuff out. You know, granted, they already knew that they were stealing away the bankais, but Urahara seems to know why Ichigo himself his bankai isn't being stolen. It really did seem like this guy was really badly trying to steal Ichigo's bankai, and it just wasn't working. All the way to the point where Urahara comes up and just goes, just like shoots him and takes him out. I knew that wasn't going to be it. That was going to be way too anticlimactic to have this guy just taken out by one single shot from Urahara, but it was still kind of cool. Just having him come up there, just boop, okay, got the killing blow in. All right, Ichigo, go. They need you over here. But again, he was trying to reveal to Ichigo why exactly he can't have his taken. And again, I've kind of mentioned before my theories on exactly why that's the case. Probably is because he's not technically of the Soul Society, and the way he gets his power is different than everybody else. Plus, he's got the whole Fullbringer aspect. Some of those aspects might come into play. Again, he's kind of a crossbreed between a lot of the things that we've kind of experienced up until now. Becoming a Shinigami, becoming a Hollow, becoming an Arrancar, basically, becoming a Fullbringer. Like, he's gone through all these steps, and so his power's not only from one thing. But no, I'm kind of a little bit sad that we haven't seen Kenpachi yet, because that's the one that I'm really waiting for, because Kenpachi is the one that really kind of avoided having a bankai. He was just brute strength, so whoever he goes up against probably is going to be very interesting. But no, in that final scene, yes, obviously, sending Ichigo over there and everything getting cut off and him getting stuck inside of this whole thing because this guy wakes back up. Chad doesn't look good, or Hime doesn't look good. So I'll be curious to see if he goes back there and wipes him out, or if he just continues on. It would be interesting to see Chad and or Hime fighting side by side and taking down this guy. That way, it would be more of an aspect of, because they don't necessarily use a bankai, it'd be interesting to see how they actually take him on. But no, we'll see how it goes. It seems to indicate that with Byakuga, he says specifically that he was going to use his bankai, see if he can figure out how to break from the seal itself. Obviously now realizing it's not a seal, it's an absorption. But he's specifically telling Renji not to use his bankai because he might need to use it later. Figuring out some way to take down the seal or this bankai plunderer and then be able to use the bankai at that point to take him down. I will say, though, if this is some weird effort for them to make that Zanpakuto rebellion arc an actual canon, I'd be so mad. But anyways, my thoughts on episode 4 of Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment, let me know what's thought of this episode. Do you like your my little sister can't be this murderous? Her voice is perfect, and I really hate it. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button to get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. Greatly appreciate everybody that does, and y'all take care.